So I'm just starting the recording and the streaming now, councillors.
Welcome everyone to the unscheduled meeting to consider 2022/23 draft budget submissions. I'll just do a roll call before I start. We have online Councillor Ma. Can you see and hear me, Councillor Ma?
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ma. Members of the public gallery should note that the Council records and publishes Council meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of Council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on Council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate times during the meeting, members of the gallery may address the Council, at which time their image, comments or submissions will be recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the Council meeting but who wish to communicate with the Council via the online web form should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. Please, could gallery visitors, councillors and those invited online attendees ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Could we please stand for the acknowledgement of the company? We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai-Kurnai people, and pay respects to their elders past and present. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Please sit down. At this stage, I don't have any apologies. I do have a couple of councillors that are missing, but they must be just running late, so we'll do that at this stage. Do I have any declarations of conflicts? No? Now, before we move the motion to receive the submissions for draft budget, I welcome anyone in the gallery to come forward and talk about any of the budget items that are listed. So if you come to the rostrum and just one at a time.
Can I order me? Is that submission one? We give something else.
We don't have for some and some for others. So Denise, I thought you just and just state your name and if you can address council. So whoever would like to be first.
Thank you. My name's Rowan Paulette. I'm a local farmer from Flynn, and thanks for the opportunity today to address you guys. As a founding member of the Gippsland Agricultural Group, we just could never envisage 2 years ago how much our organisation could have grown in such a short time. So we're really humbled and extremely excited for the future of our organisation. We've recently secured some grant money to build the Agricultural Research Centre up at the Bairnsdale Aerodrome and think that really solidifies our future in the region. And I guess that the whole reason that our organisation was formed is to address local topical issues that our farmers and businesses face. You know, keeping research grassroots and not be dictated to what research we want to do. So our attendance and membership is really strong. Our ute drives are often attended by 50, 60, 70 farmers. Our recent red meat conference was attended by over 200 people. So we really feel we've got good engagement in amongst our communities, and I'll hand over to Jen.
So, Jen Smith, General Manager at Gippsland Agricultural Group. Our ask was for $30,000 a year for 3 years. And, you know, our intent with that funding is we have built really good engagement. We do have the Ag Centre coming online. We have a number of projects coming through our pipeline, and we can access part of the $100 million a year that's released annually out of the Future Drought Fund. If we have the capacity to leverage it, we can bring that funding into our region. With that $30,000, we welcome from the councillors and the Shire, the executive team, full accountability around what ends up happening with the funding and the priority around those projects, obviously keeping in line with the value and culture of our group. But our intention would be to deliver against your looking ahead strategy, your council plan, priority number 1 around climate change and adaptation. We've got direct deliverables for you guys under that, and then the direct deliverables for Meat and Livestock Australia and goals, federal and national goals around carbon neutrality by 2030 and 2050. We believe that this funding will help us leverage that other funding and give us the capacity to be a team under your employees within the council that are charged with delivering outcomes for agriculture in the region. So we thank you for the opportunity to present today, and really grateful for you guys considering this and your support to date. We think that the relationship that we have between East and Central Gippsland and the partnership we have between our group and the 2 shires is a really showcase of shires trying to work together around sort of local initiatives, because our farming areas are so similar. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Jen.
Yes, you are.
Just, if you come back, I'll be back, yeah. Just Councillor Rupp had a question.
Microphone, Councillor.
Microphone, because we've got online.
Here we are. Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. Roger. Thank you very much for coming. I just want to go right back to the beginning. I hadn't tuned my ears to, you have to tune your ears to everyone's different voice. Dictated by who? I heard those 4 words from you, sir. You said dictated by, could you just go nice and slowly?
Yeah. Okay, so I guess as a prelude to the Gippsland Agricultural Group being formed, I was a member, or still am, a member of Southern Farming Systems.
Southern Farmer Systems.
Farming Systems.
Southern, yep.
And we found as being a sub-branch, if you like, of their bigger picture organisation. They were applying for quite large research projects and then handballing them off, or parts of them off to Gippsland, and they perhaps weren't relevant to our region. So we felt it was best we formed our own group and took control of the research we were conducting in our area.
So this Southern Farms, they were a group that were doing research?
Correct, yes.
And are you still getting information from them?
Yes, we are.
Right. So they had X amount of dollars from where?
A lot of that was funding from the likes of Grains Research Development Corporation, or bigger levy-paying bodies usually. Yeah.
Right. So they had. So I know where you are. Okay. It just resonated in my mind. Those 4 words: dictated to by. So they were. Southern Farming Systems were dictating to you. That dictating's a big word.
Yeah, like I say, we felt we were losing control of our organisation and being, handballed this research that wasn't relevant to our systems.
Wasn't relevant to Gippsland.
No.
So maybe where I come from, farming district, the other side of the Chukawaima, various places, this table called Fire.
I know the area,
you know Fire?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
18 years I was there on a farm, and we had cereal crop and crossbreed sheep. So you're saying that this Southern Farming Systems were possibly looking in other areas that didn't have in the background of areas in Gippsland?
Yeah, as you know, different soil types, climatic conditions, issues that were relevant in the western part of Victoria or perhaps down in Tassie didn't hit the mark for Gippsland.
Thank you very much. You've enlightened me more.
Just while you're both there, just for some other councils, I'll participate in a few things with Jen, and it's been fantastic. Just for an idea, you're positioned at the down at Bensdale at the aerodrome. When you go out and do things with the group, it's not just East Gippsland. You're spread across the 2 shires. Just give us an idea of, say, a 12-month period. what you actually do. So you might come down into our part of the turf is so much down there, and the farmers that are involved from the areas?
Yeah, so as I said before, climatically and some of the soil types are fairly similar across east and central Gippsland, and our farmers seem to be from sort of this side of Traralgon sort of right through to the border. At the moment we've got a project, we've got 10 sites, 3 of them in Wellington Shire, and then 7 of them, you know, right up to sort of up into the high country, and doing ute drives in those little pockets. We concentrate on areas and farmer groups, so we've got a plan now. We've had really good engagement around Yarram, and maybe some of the farmer discussion groups and the things like that, you know, need a bit of energy. We think we've got the opportunity within the next 12 months, you know, to really strategically boost those farmers there and come in underneath them and support those guys. Denison, Flynn, you know, so probably within a 12-month period, trying to spread that out across all of the regions. The Gippsland Red Meat Conference that Rowan talked about before, we had more than 250 farmers at that, and a lot of them came from central Gippsland. Next year we'd like to move it to Sale to sort of spread that out and just really encourage that engagement across the board.
Thank you, that's great. Thanks very much. No, got another question, have you?
You mentioned about Denison.
Can you turn your microphone on? Sorry, Councillor Ripper.
You mentioned Denison. Now, are we talking Denison Dry Farm or Denison Irrigation?
So our primary focus is dryland research. So our aim is always to not duplicate what other people are doing. So building a relationship with, say, the McAllister Research Farm and Dairy Australia. There's a lot of things we have in common, but there are some separate things there that need researching separately.
And if I may, Mayor, reports. Do we get reports from, or am I not reading them, Mr. Coleman? We get reports.
We've got a newsletter that comes out every month.
Right, yeah. Just want a bit of background. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Feel free, whoever next to come up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present to the draft budget again. I'm not going to sell you the wonderful place Seaspray is for a holiday, as you've heard it many times before. We've had a huge summer season with our caravan park booked out with tourists, local holiday makers, all enjoying a great summer, with promises of returning next year. COVID has been good for local holidays. Not good for much else, but it has been extremely good for the local holiday seasons. Today I want to bring to your attention the $10,000 you spent on putting together a quote for the Seaspray Honeysuckles pathway. After studying the costs involved in building this pathway, I very much doubt that this is a true estimation of the costs. Today I will present a quote from Andrew Stevenson, Director of REL Constructions, for the concreting of this pathway. For a concrete path 1.9 kilometres long and 2.5 metres wide, the estimated cost would be $400,000. Council's estimated cost for a gravel path is $576,000. And a concrete path is a huge $927,000. This is quite a difference. It is approximately half of Council's estimated costs, well below what was quoted. Darren Chester MP has urged Council to find funding, and we, the community of Seaspray and the Honeysuckles, are once again asking you to reconsider this project and take another look at the costings and find funding to bring this track into fruition. Thanks for listening.
Kayleen, can you just state your name for the record?
Kayleen Wheeler.
Thank you. You just didn't do that at the start.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I'm President of the Seaspray Ratepayers and also a committee member of the Reserve Committee of Management at Seaspray. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Kayleen. Kayleen, if we can get a copy of those costings to Chris Hasty, what we will do is provide a copy of those to all councillors, and we'll also do a reconciliation, if you like, against the costings we received. We'll provide that to councillors and a copy to you as well prior to council making their final decision on the budget.
Thank you. I've put it all, it's actually all together here. All you need to do is copy it. All the costings and everything that you gave me, your letter.
Thanks, Kayleen.
And also the quote from Andrew Stevenson, who did give it to me back in January or February, so it might be a little bit out now with the way concrete's gone. But basically, he said you're way out.
Thanks, Kayleen.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kayleen. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors. I'd just like to say I put my first budget submission in 2013.
Sorry, sir, can we just get your name?
Neil Barraclough.
Thanks, Neil. Just for the record,
Sorry,
I apologise.
David, yeah. I put in my first budget submission in 2013, and in that budget submission I warned about Wellington Shire spending, as we were very likely facing a severe drought, and also I believed that we were facing severe economic problems in the future. Now, I put a schedule on the drought on a number of occasions, and the drought basically went exactly to schedule. I never put a schedule on the economic problems that I believe we're facing, but I think it's becoming obvious that they should be that future world economics should be a consideration in the spending of every level of government. Now, we've got significant problems worldwide, and we're very likely looking at an increase in the interest rates, and anyone in debt will have problems. Now, I'd also like to say, for the last 40 years, I've been trying to explain how for the last 40 years we've been trashing the future. In a very quickly put together submission, I included a photograph of the pulp dumps on the either Breakfast Creek or Hickey's Creek, showing very good saw logs that were going to Maryvale to be chipped, and that was taken around, from memory, January 1982, and since those same photos were submitted to a timber industry inquiry in 1983, and nothing has been done about the good timber resource going to a wholly Japanese-owned pulp mill, and the Wellington Shire has put in a lot of effort into trying to reverse the Labor government's decision to end native forest logging in 2030. But simply put, I think there's going to be very little, if any, resource left to log in 2030. I've put the question to the Nationals, whose timber policies I think you're supporting. Where is the timber resource? The only ash resource that hasn't been devastated by fire is quite likely in the Barkly catchment, and there is not a lot of timber resource there. And this is going to the loss of the timber industry is one thing that's going to significantly impact on the economy of the Wellington Shire and their ability to raise rates. But the other thing is we are very likely looking at alienating farmland to grow the timber resource because we've trashed what's in the forests. And has anyone given any thought to what that's going to mean? We're taking land out of family-owned farms, planting them out with trees. What's the rate situation? Are these plantations going to be paying the same rates that the family-owned farms were? Because I think you're spending money as if your rate base is going to be exactly the same in the future as has been in the past, and that's just one instance where I don't think it will be. Also, we're very likely, this bizarre net zero global warming stuff, it's quite likely that more land will be alienated from family-owned farms to grow trees in the belief that, like stopping carbon like sequestering carbon is going to somehow alter the climate. There is no scientific basis for that. I presented a submission to the environmental policy on that, and from the environmental policy it seems to be totally ignored. The environmental policy of the Wellington Shire was talking about lowering carbon emissions to stop future bushfires, and the fires have trashed the timber resource and our native forests, which are a tourist resource. It's just trashed them because land management and other management factors have been totally wrong. And we are just trashing the future, and we have to, if we're going to trash it, we've got to allow for that in our dependence on the future to draw rates. Thanks.
Thank you, Neil. No questions? No.
Just to say thanks to Neil. His submission was very, very detailed, and I found it fascinating reading. Ultimately, the rates issue will balance things out no matter what happens, but having someone keeping an eye on these sorts of things and bring them to our attention is great. Thanks, Neil.
Thanks.
Thanks, Neil. Is there anyone else in the gallery that would like to speak? If not, can I have someone to move the recommendation, please?
Thanks, Mayor. I move that Council receive and consider submissions relating to the 2022-23 draft budget.
And seconded by Councillor Stevens. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried.
And Mayor, if I can just advise all submitters that they'll all be responded to individually after Council makes their determinations.
So I'll deem the meeting to be closed at 3:21. Thank you everyone for coming along.